and XRP sits in the middle of that system. This is how banks prepare before retail ever notices. They don't announce it on Twitter. They don't wait for YouTube thumbnails. They quietly build, test, allocate, and lock in access. Now zoom out even further. Look at other crypto ETFs. Most of them are dead, low volume, no urgency, no accumulation signal. But XRP ETFs are doing the opposite. Rising volume before laws pass, before narratives flip, before the crowd gets comfortable. That tells you everything you need to know. This is not retail money. Retail buys green candles and sells red ones. Retail does not pile into ETFs on down days with tens of millions of dollars. Institutions do that when they are positioning ahead of something structural. Markets move before announcements. They always have. And right now, XRP is moving in behavior, not in headlines. That's the part most people miss. Now let's zoom out, because this is where the signal becomes impossible to ignore if you're actually watching behavior instead of listening to noise. When you look across the broader crypto ETF landscape right now, something stands out immediately. Most altcoin ETFs are dead. Low volume, no urgency, no sustained inflows. Doge, Litecoin, Solana, even names people hype nonstop on social media. Nothing is happening there, but XRP is behaving differently. Its ETF volume is rising before regulatory headlines, before laws are passed, before narratives flip bullish. That sequence matters. Markets do not wait for confirmation. They move ahead of it. That's not a theory. That's how capital has always behaved. By the time retail feels comfortable, the positioning is already done. And this is why the argument that retail is pumping XRP ETFs falls apart instantly. Retail doesn't aggressively buy ETFs on red days. Retail chases green candles. Retail reacts. Institutions position. What you're seeing in XRP ETF volume is balance sheet money, allocation money, not hype money. Think about what institutions are looking at right now. Regulators are clarifying custody rules. The SEC is defining how broker-dealers can hold crypto. Central banks are openly rushing digital currency frameworks. Stablecoin regulation is moving forward. Tokenization is no longer theoretical. It's being implemented by Wall Street firms in real time. Against that backdrop, XRP isn't just another asset. It's a settlement rail. It's a liquidity bridge. It's infrastructure that actually benefits from regulatory clarity instead of being hurt by it. That's why capital moves there quietly, not loudly. And here's the part that really messes with people's heads. This is all happening in a down market. Bitcoin is under pressure. Alts are bleeding. Sentiment is negative. And yet XRP ETF volume is exploding. That combination almost never happens unless someone is positioning ahead of something structural. Markets leak information through behavior, not press releases. Volume tells you more than any influencer ever will. Now add one more layer to this. SBI, one of Ripple's closest institutional partners, has already laid out its stablecoin strategy. One leg in JPY, one leg in USD. USD exposure explicitly tied to RLUSD on the XRP ledger. That's not speculation. That's written strategy. Stablecoins need settlement. Settlement needs liquidity. Liquidity needs a neutral bridge. XRP sits right in the middle of that system. This is how banks prepare before the public even realizes a transition is underway. They don't announce it. They don't hype it. They accumulate, build, test, and wait. And then one day the narrative flips and everyone pretends it was obvious all along. Now let's pull all of this together, because this is where the pattern becomes impossible to ignore if you're actually watching behavior instead of listening to noise. Right now, regulators are moving faster than they publicly admit. Central banks are openly saying the word urgent. Institutions are allocating capital quietly through ETFs. And timelines that were supposed to take years are suddenly being compressed into months. That does not happen randomly. Systems don't rush unless pressure is already being applied somewhere behind the scenes. And that's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to face. Markets do not wait for laws to pass. They do not wait for headlines to confirm things. They position before clarity becomes public knowledge. By the time retail sees certainty, the risk reward is already gone. That's how every major financial transition has worked, without exception. This is why XRP ETF volume exploding in a down market matters so much. Not because it guarantees a price move tomorrow, not because it means instant riches, but because it shows who is acting and how they are acting. Institutions don't chase green candles. They don't buy narratives. They buy positioning windows. and they especially buy infrastructure when